Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around was Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. What was that one about? As if the title didn't tell us.
Quite honestly, I've been out of town twice this week doing business, and I've almost completely forgotten the story. I know at one point they get to the center of the TARDIS and it had all blown up. It's basically the only visual I remember from it, so fill me in.
Yeah, the TARDIS was mistaken for trash space debris, basically, that this ship was about to salvage, and that hurt the TARDIS a lot. And Clara went missing with inside the TARDIS, so the Doctor and the salvagers tried to go find her. Went through a bunch of corridors. There was 2 seconds in the TARDIS library. And eventually they made it to the heart of the TARDIS. They were also being chased by time demons that were actually them from a future that doesn't happen anymore. And then they essentially just reset it so that none of that ever happened. So that was it.
I do remember that. And the thing about the library was that Clara found a book about the history of the Time War, and did she not say something about it mentioned the Doctor's name?
Yes.
Okay.
But she doesn't remember it now, since time has been reset. But yes, there is something in the TARDIS that has the Doctor's actual name. So,
and we could do the old Abbott and Costello routine, and I could say, "Who is it?" and you would say yes, and I'd say yes what, and you say not what who.
Well, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting little thing of, what is the Doctor's name? And after all this time, are they ever going to give an answer? It doesn't help that on the menu of the DVD, the last episode on here is called "The Name of the Doctor." But I mean, you don't know. You don't know. They might not say.
In the meantime, we've got 2 Hugh-themed Crimson Horror and Nightmare in Silver. So,
yeah, I don't remember almost anything about this episode, except I remember a visual, but that's about it. I don't remember the plot. I don't remember what happens. I don't remember anything about this episode. I forgot this episode existed until we loaded up the DVD. And I was like, oh yeah, that one. So yeah. If, I don't know, maybe you guys have been able to tell, I have technically been running on fumes with Doctor Who for 5 seasons now. When you watch the same show nearly every week for 8 years, it starts to play with your head a little bit. And that's kind of where I am. And it's not ending anytime soon. So we just kind of soldier on. That's where we are right now.
For those of you who are new to this, Alex watched all of New Who by himself.
Yeah.
Now he's going back over it with me because 8 years ago...
It was a while ago.
I happened to mention that I lived in England when Doctor Who started in 1963, and so it was decided that I would join him to go through all of Classic Who, which we have now completed, and now we're up to season 7. Season 7 in New Who, again, which he has already seen, so we have watched, several hundreds, if not thousands, of episodes of Doctor Who over the last 8 years.
Yeah. I finished this season of Doctor Who. It was about this time of year in April. Well, I guess it's May now. Around this time in 2020. So that was 6 years ago. So yeah. So that's kind of why. There's also I can't remember. I think it was Cold War, where someone left a comment. Ooh, a season 7 video made it past the half-hour mark, and it's like that's true. We these videos have been shorter recently. And a part of that is we're not straying off topic too much, and the other part of that is the episodes don't have a ton to talk about. Last episode was a particularly bad example, so but yeah, I don't know with this wasn't this one. I don't remember this episode really. I don't remember what the plot was, so Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, that's where we are. That's why I am, like, burnt out and running on fumes in these videos. And it's also why I hope I play it off well enough, but there is a bit of a difference between my energy in these videos and my energy in every other video I put on the channel, because I'm watching new stuff. So, and that's not to say that we're going to stop or I'm even having a bad time. I'm not having a bad time.
No, it's fun.
Yeah, it's just, that's just kind of where we are. And I've consumed so much of this show already.
I have to tell you, this is Alex's room. It's also his studio. When you're in any other part of the house and he's watching new, especially anime, you can literally hear him shouting and screaming, and it's like, wonder what he's watching now. So,
yeah.
Just be, yes, if you, this is the only part of the channel that you watch, be aware he does a whole lot of other stuff, and he's very vocal about that.
It's weird how much, or I guess how little overlap there is between people that watch my videos, because I have found most people, if they just watch one thing or the other. So they will just watch Doctor Who, or they will just watch the anime reactions, or they'll just watch, like, The Sopranos when I was still doing that. And there's not a lot of overlap between those people, which is very interesting. So, which is also maybe slightly a shame, because, I mean, the thing is, I talk about running on fumes and everything with these videos. These Doctor Who videos are what do the best on the channel consistently. Like, all my anime videos, I'm getting pennies, maybe pennies on pennies for the amount of work I put into those anime videos. But I keep doing them because I love doing them. And here, I like doing these videos, but I have seen this show already 6 years ago, and I don't know. And it's also Doctor Who. And it's a strange thing to say that I'm one of the few people, one of the few Doctor Who fans who's actually watched every episode. That doesn't seem right. There have been people, even people who have been fans since Christopher Eccleston came on. That was 20 years ago. So they've been fans longer than I have, let alone people who have, who started in classic Doctor Who all the way back. And I'm just sitting here, it's like, yeah, I've watched every episode. I started in 2018. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why I'm the one that has to be that kind of fan. So, and as far as I'm concerned, you probably know, if you've watched for any time now, I'm in the middle of rehearsals for The Three Musketeers on stage. We're in the middle of renovating a new building for the theater that my wife and I run. So I'm kind of in and out, and I'm not talking a whole lot because physically and mentally tired from all that. But at the end of May, I think the 24th of May, the run of Musketeers is over. We are not thinking that there's going to be any real progress on getting our theater opened until, at a minimal, probably late August. And I'm thinking that's a pipe dream if it gets open or by August. Anyway, so maybe after the next 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be a little bit more into it myself. Yeah, so the videos that do the best on this channel are the ones that we're accidentally half-assing the most. But I mean, we're still trying. We're still trying. No one's really complained about the quality of these episodes. But if I could interest any of you who are still watching this intro, branch out, try a different show. I mean, there's The Sopranos. That's on HBO Max. You can go watch that, and you can go watch my reactions. Or you can go try out some anime. That could be interesting. There's a ton. Don't think they're all just weird, because they're not. They're all different. I can even just recommend shows that I'm not even reacting to. But there's a lot that you can go out and branch out, and then come back to me and give me more views, which gives me more money. So, anywho, the Crimson Horror.
Crimson Horror.
I don't remember this episode. So
and it's not about Jack the Ripper.
No.
Okay.
I think. Well, I don't remember, actually, now that I think about it. So, was there already a Doctor Who episode about Jack the Ripper? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Maybe not. No, I'm thinking of an old Star Trek episode. There was a episode of the original series where, like, they force Scotty to go on shore leave, and then he, like, kills a prostitute, and then it turns out he's possessed by the space ghost of Jack the Ripper. So, that was goofy. So,
and believe it or not, for those of you who are fans of Jack the Ripper, and there are legions of them. Back in the mid-1970s, I was privileged to be in a production of The Ruling Class by Peter Barnes. And again, despite the fact that you see me as an old man now, I actually played Jack Gurney, the 14th Earl of Gurney, who in the first act believes that he's Jesus, and in the second act believes he's Jack the Ripper. So, if you have not seen the film with Peter O'Toole, you need to put that on your bucket list. It's an incredibly bizarre and wonderful and very funny film.
And also, if you're a fan of Jack the Ripper, I could also recommend the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where Jack the Ripper is not a major character, but he is in a few episodes right at the beginning. He gets, while saying anything, gives away way too much about the plot of part 1 of JoJo. But the first part, if you just want to try JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it is slightly a rough part to get into, but it's only 9 episodes, it's on Netflix, and it's a great time. And if you watch that and you're not sure, I would also recommend, also on Netflix, starting with part 7, which is not actually a continuation. It's its own starting point. It's called Steel Ball Run. That's also a really good thing. Doesn't have the Jack the Ripper, though, but that's what I would recommend. Right. So let's see if Jack the Ripper is in this episode, because I honestly cannot remember. So
here we go. Well, 1893, but it's in Yorkshire instead of London.
Now you must fetch the police.
Mrs. Gillyflower!
We have come about your husband, my dear. A tragedy.
My husband?
Your late husband.
There must be some mistake.
Like 5 seconds.
My husband is quite well.
We're so very sorry for your
What is her
loss.
name? She was on the British series Avengers.
Diana Rigg.
Diana Rigg, yes.
Yeah. She was also in Game of Thrones.
Oh.
Do you know what an octogram is?
It's a silly superstition, sir. The belief that the eye can retain an image of the last thing it sees.
Vastra, isn't she the...
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there she is. Companion of the Silurian.
Good grief.
Oh, God.
They really need to put a pillow down.
Does Jenna Louise Coleman now just go by Jenna Coleman?
Yeah, I think it's after this series they just dropped that. I don't remember why they put that in the first place.
She's only interested in the fittest and the most beautiful.
You may rely on me now.
I was, in fact, speaking to Jenny.
Jenny. If this weak and fleshy boy is to represent us, I strongly advise the issuing of scissor grenades, limbo vapor, and triple blast brain splitters.
What for?
Just generally. Remember,
You never know.
we are going to the north.
Will you be found wanting when the end of days is come? When judgment rains down upon us all? Or
Judgment
will you
Day
be
and the trumpet
preserved
sound.
against the coming apocalypse?
And how will she locate the doctor?
To find him, she needs only ignore all keep-out signs, go through every locked door, and run towards any form of danger that presents itself.
That's true.
Business as usual, then.
Business as usual.
Eh.
I've travelled from London expressly to see Madame Vastra. You'll be so kind as to announce me, my good man.
Whom shall I say is calling?
There it goes again.
If she hasn't made contact by nightfall, I suggest a massive frontal assault on the factory, madam. Casualties can be kept to perhaps as little as 80%.
I think there may be subtler ways of proceeding, Strax.
Suit yourself.
Someday he's going to suggest something, and it's going to be a good idea. Not today.
Not today, thank you.
Cause a distraction. What? Swoon. Have a funny turn. Fit the vapors.
Are you crackers?
Go on. There's a guinea in it for you. Done.
Oh, good job. There's a lot of work to fake the sounds of a factory.
I had a metal spiral staircase like that in one of my sets once. Set during this time period. Yes, spiral staircase.
Staircase.
I had one in my production of Angel Street. Looked a lot like that, actually.
Doctor!
Yeah.
What happened to you?
He's been better. Oh no.
Silent Red is with people.
Yeah. This turned into a Batman episode.
Jenny.
Oh.
You have no idea how good that feels.
Yeah.
Long story. I'll keep it short.
Alright, let's take a step back for a moment.
Okay, so. North.
Oh, he even had a hat.
Yorkshire, 1893. Near enough.
You're making a habit of this, getting us lost.
Sorry. It's much better than it used to be. Ooh, I once spent hell of a long time trying to get a gobby Australian to Heathrow Airport. Search me. Anyway.
Dr. and Mrs. Smith. Oh, yes. You'll do very nicely.
Oh, grand. Smashing. Hey, the missus and I couldn't be more chuffed, couldn't we, love? Eh?
Chopped to bits.
Sweet.
Oh, dang it. It's a trap! Yeah. Oh.
No.
It's the only one to survive.
Madam will come looking for me. We'd best get on.
Yes, Clara. Got to find Clara.
But Doctor, Clara's dead. Isn't she?
No. Different Clara.
It's complicated.
Horse! You have failed in your mission! We are lost.
Turn around when possible. Then, at the end of the road, turn right.
What?
Bear left for a quarter of a mile and we'll have reached your destination.
Victorian GPS.
What is your name?
Thomas, sir. Thomas.
I think you will do well, Thomas.
I feel like they're referencing a specific British GPS we don't know about.
Same person.
If I were to guess, named TomTom. Yes.
Clara died! The ice lady! Doctor!
It's complicated.
I found another. It doesn't help she's dressed exactly the same.
No! Kindly do not claw and slobber at my crinoline. You know I cannot bear time for a plan.
Now, Doctor, this one's on me.
Yeah, someone who can fight.
That is a plan. Okay, have a new plan. Run!
Oh. And someone with a gun.
Got out the doctor with Clara.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Long story. What now, madam? We could lay mimetic cluster mines.
Strax.
Or dig trenches and fill them
He's
with...
so excited.
Strax, you're overexcited.
Oh.
Have you been eating this jelly sherbet fancies again?
No.
Go outside and wait for me until I call for you.
But madam,
Go!
Jelly babies, perhaps?
Eh.
What's going on?
Oh, haven't you heard, love? There's trouble at Mill. She's a lizard. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, but the chimney...
But what's the connection to Mrs. Gilliflower? Judgment will rain down on us all.
The chimney. The smoke.
Mill.
A chimney that doesn't blow smoke.
There you go.
Now, 50 years earlier, Charles Dickens described the thick fog around London, but which also carried the soot from all the chimneys and gave everybody lung cancer and black coal miner's disease, black lung.
I believe that also happened in the 50s. It was an episode of The Crown, actually.
Is this who I think it is?
I don't know. Who do you think it is?
It looks like the Great Intelligence again.
You don't know.
Symbiotic, you might say.
Eh.
You.
Yeah.
All these years I have helped you, served you, looked after you. Does it count for nothing? Nothing at all!
Oh.
Stop!
Hang on, I've got a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah? I've got a chair.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
a fairly fragile machine.
that worked.
If I can't take the world with me, you will have to die, you freaks. Die! Die!
Put down your weapon, human female.
Shoot her.
Good. Mrs. Gilliflower's thudding.
Yeah. Good work, Shax.
What will you do with that thing?
Take it back to the Jurassic era, maybe. Out of harm's way.
Oh. Let's not say we did.
On the other hand...
Right. I called to see if there had been any progress.
Yeah, there he goes again.
That's just someone who looks like me. And that's someone who looks like your boyfriend. Is he an alien? Why would he be an alien? The chin. And the time travel? Can we have a go? Can you have a what? We want a shot of the time machine. No. Listen. Okay. Or we'll have to tell Dad that our nanny's a time traveler.
That'll go over well. Alrighty.
Well, first of all, again, production values. Victorian Yorkshire. The factory that obviously they had some interior sets built, but there had to be some on location shooting there. Again, very spooky looking. It always makes me wonder. Dame Diana Rigg,
Yeah.
huge star on Broadway and London's West End. Done again the original, the British TV series The Avengers. I mean, just a very, very well-known person. And I'm assuming she did this before Game of Thrones.
This would be 2013. It may have been like slightly around the same time when her character showed up.
But it's like David Warner,
Yeah.
who also had an incredible resume. And it just makes you wonder who went to Diana Rigg and said, hey, you know what? You were around when Doctor Who started, because she was on the Avengers in the mid-60s. Would you like to do a guest shot as a Victorian woman who's trying to destroy the world? And she sits there and goes, yeah, why not?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing. There were interviews with John Hurt about the 50th, and he basically says, like, I knew of Doctor Who, but I didn't know how big Doctor Who really was until he joined as the War Doctor. So it was sort of a awakening for him of how big the show really is.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, yeah, it is kind of like one of like three staples of British television, probably. It's like this, and then two others I can't think of. But the point stands that it's one of the tops, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's like the same thing. And I know I referenced the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the stage version as well. But the guy who played the narrator, I think his name was Charles Gray, again, very well-known actor at that time. And they come to him and said, we're going to do this kind of rock and roll musical about a transvestite from another planet who comes down to our world and tries to, recruit people. And the guy looked at him and said, sounds like fun. It's like I'm constantly amazed that huge stars, it's nothing to say. I mean, let's face it, Doctor Who was a quality show.
Yeah.
You just have to wonder, what was Diana Rigg thinking? Now Game of Thrones, I can understand that's very much in her wheelhouse.
And that was a recurring character over many seasons.
Yeah.
This is just a one-off episode.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I mean, I'm sure she had fun. Again, that last line, "Will you forgive me? Never." That's my girl. It's a perfect little tagline there.
Well, yeah.
And again, nothing. I mean, yes, the idea was that if the venom spread all over the world, she would start a whole new race. Again, they didn't really explain that much. I mean, she seemed to be somewhat of a religious fanatic, wanting the end times to come. We got a lot of strange people like that now, especially here in the United States. So, I mean, it's not an incredibly compelling story, but it was fun. And again, the fact that you've got Diana Rigg and the return of Vastra and what's the girl's name? Jenny and Strax. So it's just it's a lot of fun. It's not one of the most important episodes Doctor Who's ever done, but they had a great time doing it, and I had a great time watching it.
Yeah. So it's certainly better than the last episode. So, especially for not remembering pretty much anything in this episode, it worked out very well. The one thing I also thought of is, it's 1893. You'd almost think there would be a reference to Torchwood at the time.
Yeah.
Like maybe the Doctor could just call them or something, or maybe, I mean, you would assume Madame Vastra would be aware of Torchwood and they would be aware of her.
Yeah.
So, but by this point, I think they had just dropped Torchwood like the plague at this point. So I think season 4 of Torchwood aired when Matt Smith's first season was airing, but then that was it. That ended. Sarah Jane Adventures ended after that, and they were like, no more spinoffs for a while. So,
now, I read a headline recently, before I forget it. Did The War Between the Sea and the Land air?
It did, I think.
Because I thought I saw something that said that there was a problem with it, or did it not do well, or...
I don't know. I think it was generally well received. I don't know quite how it was released. I mean, at the very least, it was aired on the BBC. I'm sure it's on the BBC iPlayer. I don't know if they still release it on Disney Plus or not, but I didn't watch it. People said it was good, but it pretty much came out when we were in the middle of doing Torchwood, and I was like, oh god, I don't need a spin-off right now. So,
and the newest news is that now that Doctor Who is no longer associated with Disney Plus, that they're in talks with HBO Max maybe to pick it up.
I hope so. I actually have HBO Max, so I hope so. I actually didn't mind it being on Disney Plus. The biggest problem was it was on Disney Plus, but just the new seasons. It pretty much just started from the 60th anniversary and didn't have anything prior to that. So if you wanted to go back and watch all that stuff, and they tried to market it as a new jumping on point, mainly with the Shurigawa episodes, but that's not a good point to jump on. There's too much referential stuff to the previous seasons that it just didn't work. So hopefully it'll be on. I think most of modern Doctor Who is on HBO Max. So hopefully, because I hate the BBC iPlayer. Namely because in order to use it here in America, you have to use a VPN, or pretty much anywhere outside of the UK, you have to use a VPN. And even when I would use a VPN and then I would try using the iPlayer, it would always, like, I would click on the episode, but I would, like, click on it too quickly before, like, the VPN, like, actually started, and so it wouldn't let me watch the episode. So then I try to reload, and it still doesn't work, and I have to, like, close the entire browser and start it up again and go back to the page. It was so annoying, but so yeah, that's why I don't like the BBC iPlayer. I'm sure if you're in Britain, it's fine because you can just use it like any other website.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, you also have to wonder. Mark Gatiss throws in the joke about the Australian girl trying to get her back to Heathrow, Tegan.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I laughed hysterically at that, but how many of the modern people would have known about that?
Oh, they didn't. Yeah. I can tell you because I didn't when I first watched this episode. I didn't know what that meant. But yeah, and it took me a second to be like, oh yeah, that was like that was the whole point, is Tegan getting swept up into all of this and eventually landing her back at Heathrow Airport. So that was her job. She was going out to be an airline flight attendant, and then her aunt was miniaturized by the master. It was goofy and complicated. So it's the story of Clara when you really get down to it. So,
Right, so at the end there, the doctor dropped Clara off.
Yes, dropped her off back
because she repeated the phrase, "I'm the boss," but then the children that she's the nanny to say, "We've been looking you up online and we're finding pictures of you from different time periods."
For some reason, they said that they found one of the pictures at school, and it was the picture from the Cold War episode. I don't know why a picture from a Soviet submarine in 1983 ended up in their school in 2013. All those years later, but apparently it did, and so yeah, they just happened to find all those pictures, and they figured out that Clara must be a time traveler. So now they want in. So now we got to take the kids along next episode.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of figured that's what they were leading up to.
Yeah.
But this in no way. I guess it does kind of parallel the Sarah Jane adventures, because you got Sarah Jane and a bunch of teenagers. Now you're going to have Clara and the Doctor and a couple of teenagers. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Next episode is interesting. I don't know how well regarded it is. I think when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is fine. So, but this one is kind of better than I remember, mainly because I didn't remember it. So it actually being as good as it was a nice surprise. So,
and so Mrs. Gillyflower's machine was not the great intelligence. It's just a machine.
Just a machine.
But okay. So how did she build the rocket? How does she have the technology?
I guess the idea is that the parasite was smart enough to know these things and gave her the idea, to which she gave it to engineers to create. So I guess that's it. I mean, it's weird because it's like, it is just a little parasite creature, but I mean, these things were like the scourge of the Silurians, and they had that kind of technology.
Yeah.
But then again, if you have a parasite, that doesn't mean it can use a smartphone,
Yeah.
Actually, there was one time I got recommended a video where someone just took like incredibly dirty water and put it in a jar and just like let it sit for 2 months and just like put a camera on it to show what happened, and it created this like giant parasite. And I did not watch the video. I just saw it in the thumbnail and I scrolled past. I almost threw up. It was disgusting.
All right. But maybe they didn't want to do what they had done before. But one of the times, I think it was Matt Smith, in the hot air balloon, that would have made so much more sense than a rocket.
Oh, yeah.
Because the balloon would have gone up until it got too high and the pressure would cause it to burst, which would have then dispersed the venom. So I don't know. Just I looked at that and I thought, well, if that was a great intelligence, it would know how to build a rocket. But if it's not, then where did that technology come from?
Yeah. I guess the assumption is that the parasite did it. So, yeah.
But if the parasites and the Silurians are indigenous to our planet, then 30 million years ago they wouldn't have had that technology, would they? I don't
the Silurians did, at least. I mean, that's the thing. We only get like just a little bit of what the parasite actually is. Just something that the Silurians had to deal with 65 million years ago, and they had that kind of technology until, which is why they were able to create these like stasis chambers to survive the meteor strike and everything, the extinction of the dinosaurs, and they've just been asleep underground for millions of years. But yeah, how the parasite survived, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Anyway,
well, to just to slightly make this longer, is kind of random, other than the fact that this show is British, so this topic slightly relates. But I saw today on Twitter, people were debating quote-unquote military time, because there was some tweet where someone was like, anyone who uses military time, I don't trust you, And so everyone, else on Twitter was like, see, in America, that's called military time. In the rest of the world, it's just called time. Essentially just the 24-hour format. And I don't know. I just thought maybe, I don't know, maybe some people can debate that in the comments too. I don't know if I would be able to get used to 24-hour time. Because I've seen it a couple times, even in episodes in Doctor Who, where they just have a clock and it just says 14. And I'm just like, 14? I guess that would be 2. I can't think of that.
Yeah.
This is like, that's like learning another language at this point. So,
well, again, it's kind of weird because even in the established 24-hour time usage, there are weird little things. Like, you remember a couple of years ago, we watched a movie called Zero Dark 30. And people went, why is it called Zero Dark 30? Because it's in reference to the fact that the raid took place at 30 minutes past midnight,
well, yeah,
which is zero time. And because it's dark outside at midnight, half past midnight would be Zero Dark 30.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there are all sorts of weird little things like that.
I do just kind of love those things. I mean, it's like freaking Celsius versus Fahrenheit. Why are we the only people that use Fahrenheit? And everything like that. So I do understand those. One of the funniest though is one thing I will always say is funny is that the British, and I understand why they do this, but their insistence that they drive on the correct side of the road, despite the fact that that's the one thing where, like, no, a majority of the human race drives on the other side to them. So, technically, but that's like the one where it's like, okay, that's a bit more debatable. But, yeah, mainly it's just funny seeing people just dogpiling Americans on that. I saw another thing that was like, there was someone who was saying, like, I know technically it's correct, but can we stop calling, countries in the Middle East Asian? It's like, technically they're not. And I know technically they are, but we shouldn't call them that. And someone was like, well, I would say that that's like saying that, oh, well, people in Central and South America, well, we shouldn't call them Americans. But they do get mad if you call them American specifically, so I do kind of get it.
Well, see, that was one of the things that when I was teaching world history, that the AP and UPI and all the rest of the news organizations said, we really need to start using the technology of the people. For example, before this switchover, the capital of China was called Peking. That's the way the British and the English had always said it, and the Americans. But then they went to China, and apparently the people in China pronounced it Beijing instead. So they said, look, if the people in China are going to call it Beijing, then we need to do that. One of the most recent is the country of Turkey, Turkey, except now the people of Turkey spell it Turkiye. And when I've seen newspapers do that, I see people going, oh, what's this new country? I went, no, it's not a new country. It's just the acknowledgement that that is the name of the country, the way the people in the country use it. So, as far as, these countries in the Middle East, it's called the Middle East because when the Europeans were so separated from China and Japan, this was the middle way to get. But in reality, the Middle East is really Western Asia.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's just a funny thing.
Yeah, I tried to be as correct as possible when I was teaching world history. And the same thing when I started teaching Oklahoma history. There is a tribe that the English originally called the Creek because the upper and lower versions of the tribe lived along this creek in Georgia. But they themselves always called themselves the Muskogee. So, and I can't remember exactly when the transition was, but now the Muskogees prefer to be called Muskogee, although officially they are still the Muskogee (parentheses) Creek tribe. So it's just one of those things. If the natives of a country say this is the way we want it pronounced, we should honor that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just a funny thing. I think also just because it's this sounds so terrible. It's really fun triggering British people. It's just like the funniest thing, and I am I am so guilty of it because it's just like any time that I have to say aluminum instead of aluminium. That's really the only one I do, but I don't know. There's something about how many people got so mad at the idea of military time, or it's like, no, 24-hour time, that's just normal time. And it's like, well, no, for some reason in America we do 12 hours. So someone at least pointed out that it's like, well, that's because of all the analog clocks that we have. And it's true, I have an analog clock up here, although kids nowadays can't read an analog clock, but still, it's like, I don't know, it's just such a funny thing, and I had no other reason to bring it up. I just remembered that, and I was like, well, we can make this video a little longer. So
anyway,
yeah.
All right. So next up is something in silver. There's something in silver.
Nightmare in Silver.
I'm guessing that's got to be the Cybermen again.
You don't know.
Never know.
It
I was
could
wrong
be
about the Great Intelligence, but
yeah. So,
but that would have made so much more sense.
It would have. Yeah. It would have also explained why the parasite. There's going to be something. Someone's going to leave a comment that was like, actually, there was this line you forgot about why the parasite is still around 65 million years later. But as we said before, we are half-assing these videos. I mean, we try not to. We try not to. Like, once the episode starts, I kind of get back in the groove of it. But yeah.
And yes, there are sometimes when we're making a comment during it that while we're talking, somebody says something that people have pointed that out before. Said you were talking over this line, which explained what you were worried about or what you didn't understand. So
well, yeah, that doesn't happen too often with modern Doctor Who. Thankfully, that was all over the place in classic Doctor Who. Yeah. Again, if you are new here and you want to go throughout our classic Doctor Who reactions, we did absolutely all of classic Doctor Who, and it was a time. It was interesting that some days were better than others, some episodes were better than others, and some comment sections got a little heated. So, but they were an interesting time, definitely. And now we're actually one of the few channels that's actually reacted to all of classic Doctor Who.
Oh, cool.
So there's a couple others, and there's some that are still making their way through, but we just powered through the whole thing. So, but that is basically it. We can only extend this discussion so far. So, with all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our all the modern Doctor Who reactions, and then another playlist that does have all the classic reactions if you want to look at that, but it just has every video on the channel that's Doctor Who related. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.